If you sell cards on COMC, you've probably noticed that when it comes time to certain special events, the beginning of NBA season or an NFL season or an MLB season or an NHL season, they'll run a special event in connection with eBay, some kind of kickoff, tip-off event, where for the first week of that season, they will have extra advertisements on eBay to get people into these auctions of cards for that sport during this specific period of time. I'm here to tell you, don't submit your cards to these things, and I'll share why. Let's get into this. Now, first, let me just say, I love COMC. COMC is actually my major platform for selling cards. I use eBay as well, but I use COMC quite a bit more than anything else. I love it. I've made lots of videos about it. But I find this particular thing, submitting cards for auction through these kinds of tip-off, kickoff events, hurts my sales a lot in those spaces. And I've really reflected a lot on why this is. And I've come to kind of discover a couple of main things. Now, first, just to describe what this is, usually they'll have for about a month running up to the beginning of a sports season, they'll have a time where you can submit your cards to be sold by auction during this 1 week span of time. And they're going to advertise that better on eBay. However, you have about a month or so of time for people to submit cards for auction. People are sending in cards from off platform for these things. The number of cards that are going to be sold during that week is way higher than the number of cards that are during a regular week. That kind of floods the supply. If there's too much supply around one sport, people have a certain, stamina limitation. When they go in and look at the auctions that are going to be ending that day on COMC, if it is so many listings that you need half a day to look through all of them, you're just glazed. Your eyes are either glazed over or you're just looking for a player or something like that. You don't really have time to look through all of those listings unless you have like an entire free day and that's all you want to do is just sit back on the couch and just look through listings for half the day. It's too much supply. The idea I think that COMC has would be that with that increased supply, because of their promotional aspect with eBay getting kind of front page recognition, that it's going to increase the demand somehow also. But actually, I don't think it does. It doesn't do that to the same scale as the supply increase. There's an influx of supply, and the demand is only increasing by a tiny bit. Because somebody who sees that advertisement, if they like sports cards, okay, maybe they will click on it. But if they like sports cards, they might have been looking anyway. It will increase the demand some. The organic demand will increase some, but just a little bit, to be honest, I find. And as an eBayer, when COMC says that they have these, when I go and look on eBay, because I go to eBay quite often, I really never find the COMC advertisement for this. I'm like, where is this? I know I can find it because I go through COMC and I look at eBay sales through COMC, but on eBay's page itself, it's not nearly as evident. So I don't think it's actually increasing the demand that much. I kind of would like if there was some way that COMC had to track like the number of viewers of a regular auction and the number of viewers of an auction that happens during that time. I think just the metrics of that would be really interesting. But even if there are more eyeballs on it, there's also more options. So people, and many of these cards end up going for cheaper during this time. So people are not going to be bidding up as high as they might during other times because I think a lot of people realize that they can get good deals during that time. So, even for myself, when it's one of those occasions, I don't submit cards to sell, but when it's that time, I will go to be a buyer and I will put up like 60% comps on like a bunch of cards and end up getting a few of them just because I know there's going to be stuff that falls through the cracks when there's that many that are selling. So I'm just trying to like grab up the stuff that's going to fall through the cracks. I think COMC could do a better job maybe advertising it, really getting more demand because they put a lot of effort into getting more supply. A lot. They advertise for more supply. They put it on their front page. They run different things. Even on COMC, there'll be like a little yellow thing at the top that'll talk about it. Like there's different ways where people can know that this is something they can submit a card to sell. But the amount of advertising they do to buy seems to be relatively limited. So I think that's something COMC could do better. But for now, I would highly suggest you simply don't sell cards through that. Actually, in general, I don't think COMC is the greatest place to be auctioning off cards unless that you're doing certain cards in eBay live auctions, which COMC has COMC eBay live auctions. I've talked about that before. I'm not going to go into detail in this particular video. If you follow my channel, if you look on my channel, you can find a number of videos about that. And there'll be more in the future as well. But for the regular 7-day auctions that COMC offers, I generally am not doing those anymore. A lot of those always end up selling on the lower end of the comp spectrum. Why they tried to do do these tip-off, kick-off type of events is so that you really are specifically timing the market, which in theory is a good idea. You know, timing the market to a time when people are starting to think about that sport more, or if they had another somewhat similar thing, like just as the playoffs were beginning to begin, when like, you know, a lot of sales increase, like it theoretically makes sense. There is more, people's minds are on that sport more. But if you create too much supply, it overshadows that increased demand that might be happening. So that's why I just don't sell at these types of events anymore. If you do, if you had a success, please do share in the comments. And if you don't, share that too. I'd like to have this be a conversation over time with people. I like seeing what other people's experiences are. So definitely share your experiences down there in the comments. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Peace.